The 5 mass extinctions that have occurred on Earth in the last 500 million years have coincided with huge volcanic eruptions. The western region of the US is home to a sleeping behemoth that occasionally stirs but hasn't awakened from its sleep in many years. When the beast does awaken, however, it may howl and heave with a power that has never been seen before. It has been 640,000 years since the beast last erupted in a world-roiling eruption. Approximately 1,500 square miles of the Yellowstone eruption area, known as cordera, was submerged after it collapsed in on itself. Officials at Yellowstone National Park have discovered that a decisive piece of magma has begun to pulse. People are currently wondering whether or not this ticking time bomb will explode. If it does, it could erupt within our lifetimes, triggering a global extinction? Join us as we investigate how Yellowstone National Park officials have only recently discovered a sizable chunk of magma that has already begun to pulse with colossal forces. Drive approximately 10,000 geothermal features deep beneath Yellowstone National Park. The Yellowstone supervolcano covers the states of Wyoming, Montana, and Idaho below the surface. The Earth's surface has been rising and falling as a result of those forces of heat and pressure, similar to the erratic breathing of a large sleeping animal. In the words of geologist Dr. Robert Christensen, United States Geological Survey USGS, either the magma was intruding the crust or it was heating the hydrothermal system, causing it to expand and alleviate the crust. The volcano itself is actually located in northwestern Wyoming, which is where the majority of Yellowstone is located. Since 1923, volcanologists have been keeping track of this activity, and they estimate that between 2004 and 2009, the ground rose by about 25 centimeters, 9.8 inches, and that it began to sink in 2010. Due to the prolonged period of gradual continuous growth, many scientists believe that a Yellowstone eruption may be likely to occur. Concerns have been expressed about the eruption's potential intensity if it happens. Near the current borders of Nevada, a period of active volcanism began. Near the surface, magma, which is molten rock from beneath the Earth's crust. Mantle blooms cause hot spot volcanism by transferring heat from the mantle's depths to the crust as tectonic plates move over hot regions. A trail of volcanic activity is left in their wake. The volcanic hot points that is currently active is the result of magma rocks in the crust being melted by magma plumes as they rise through the mantle, forming reservoirs of partially molten, partially solid rock. The eruption caused pyroclastic flows, which were rapid. Extremely hot debris flows over the surrounding terrain, as well as the release of large amounts of volcanic ash and gas into the atmosphere. The land above the subsurface magma chamber sank as it emptied, forming the first of Yellowstone's 3 calderas, one of the greatest volcanic eruptions known to man. The Yellowstone supervolcano collapsed in on itself after each of these eruptions, swallowing the entire landscape, including all the trees, mountains, and other features. Volcanologists have been closely monitoring this activity for decades. A team led by Bob Smith at the University of Utah estimated that over a 50-year period of time, the caldera had come up about 2/3 of a meter. But what exactly is happening? Although in the last 3 decades various studies have documented these uplift processes in Yellowstone, there's one thing that all studies agree on. The behavior of a volcano can be quite unpredictable. Yellowstone's geology is vast, puzzling, and even underground. Explorations are particularly challenging. However, scientists from the Yellowstone Volcano Observatory and the U.S. Geological Survey agree that the injection of a significant amount of magma and the fluids that escape during the eruption can account for the rising and sinking of the ground. We're just starting to understand how dynamic North skies are. According to Michael Poland, who wasn't involved in the new research, The magma chamber beneath Yellowstone is being affected by two opposing forces: the heat rising from below and the relative cold from the surface. If the heat from below is reduced, the chamber could theoretically freeze and eventually transform into a solid granite body. It's also important to keep in mind that the volcanic hotspot beneath Yellowstone is gradually moving to the northeast, or more precisely, that the North American tectonic plate is moving southwest of Yellowstone. Yellowstone is one of the most seismically active areas in the United States. In fact, in a typical year, Yellowstone National Park and its immediate environment witnessed between 1,000 and 3,000 earthquakes per year. This means that at least about 3 earthquakes shake Yellowstone every day on average. Many of the earthquakes at Yellowstone come from regional faults caused by crustal stretching and mountain building. The most recent large earthquake in Yellowstone's recent history struck close to Hebgon Lake, which is just west of the park. It was a 7.5 magnitude earthquake that caused damages worth $70 million and claimed the lives of 28 people, in addition to causing property damage. Yellowstone is not the only place where volcanic eruptions with a global impact can occur. For instance, Krakatoa is still active and can still erupt. The last time it erupted, the whole world felt it, but the people closest to it paid the highest price. For this reason, a warning system is crucial for the area surrounding the park. However, the vast majority of Yellowstone visitors make it back home safely. One of the deadliest volcanic eruptions in modern times, Krakatoa is located in Indonesia, which completely destroyed the island on which it resides. The volcano's final eruption generated 4 times more power than the largest bomb detonated by humans in history. This produced a series of tsunamis that devastated the region and claimed the lives of over 36,000 people. It has also destroyed entire towns, generating losses of $1.5 billion. There was some early warning signs, including billowing smoke and small, seemingly insignificant earthquakes. These warnings were not ignored, but instead of fleeing, the people included the events in festival celebrations. In fact, the natives thought Krakatoa's natural fireworks were a lucky surprise, but this proved to be a grave mistake. The eruption itself was so loud that it was heard 2,800 miles away in Australia and 3,000 miles away on the islands of Rodriguez, where it was described as a distant roar of heavy guns. It was loud enough to shatter the eardrums of those in close proximity. The magma chamber ruptured, allowing seawater to come in contact with the molten lava, causing flashes of sulfur dioxide. The volume of ash and debris was so high that it caused a darkness that persisted for 3 days after the volcano collapsed into the sea, which caused a tsunami. The wave is said to have traveled around the world 3.5 times at astonishing speed, causing tsunamis as far as South Africa and flinging huge chunks of coral reef onto the land as it went. 37 meters high, tall enough to submerge a 6-story building, and as it raced along the shoreline of the sun, just straight destroyed 300 towns and villages. Another tsunami brought on by this minor eruption resulted in 437 fatalities, 32,000 injuries, and more than 16,000 displaced people. However, although there are still earthquakes in Yellowstone Park and the ground is still rising and falling, this is nothing unusual. Compared to what a supervolcano is theoretically capable of, these eruptions were really small. The odds of Yellowstone exploding in any given year are 0.001%, according to scientists. Given how long Yellowstone has existed, it is possible that only the 4th eruption will take place. Eventually, volcanoes do happen. Yellowstone is one of the few supervolcanoes on Earth and still shows signs of activity below its surface. In recent years, scientists have seen a significant increase in the frequency of some events that reflect to some extent what is happening below the crust. Could the Yellowstone volcano erupt once more? Most scientists think not. FEMA, the U.S. Federal Emergency Management Agency, even published a rough estimate of what it thought the total damage cost to the United States could be in this event, if it actually blew. In that report, they estimated it will cost $3 trillion in damages, or almost 14% of the entire United States GDP. So, yeah, Yellowstone's blowing up would be really, really bad for everybody. Though, it's highly unlikely that this scenario will likely play out during our lifetimes. Well, unless you become immortal, as the likelihood of this happening, as we said earlier, is 0.001%, which is actually lower than the odds of civilization getting wiped out by an asteroid. So this really isn't a problem that you should be worrying about right now. However, they also affirm that it is extremely difficult to predict the future behavior of a volcano. Will it be necessary to be prepared, just in case? And what do you think? Let us know in the comments below, and thanks for watching. We'll see you next time.